Will Africa benefit from this boom or risk becoming a low-cost carbon sink, generating credits without securing local development gains? This debate invites us all to think deeply about the right sequencing of climate finance investments, the trade-offs between early participation and long-term resilience, Africa's climate sovereignty and agency, and how youth voices can influence the carbon markets, shaping our continent's future. You will hear from two teams today, each consisting of two youth climate fellows. The proposition team, arguing for the motion, will contend that Africa must first build strong green value chains, such as sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, and local manufacturing, before engaging in carbon markets. Representing the proposition team, we have Ms. Valentine Tenge from Kenya and Mr. Jack Kumalo from Eswatini. Sorry. The opposition team, arguing against the motion, will assert that Africa should enter carbon markets now and use the revenue to build green value chains in parallel. Representing the opposition team, we have Ms. AYCFF from Liberia and Ms. Tigers Iles from Ethiopia. We will now turn over to our debaters to introduce themselves, beginning with the team for the motion. Ms. Valentine, over to you.
Thank you, Noru, for that very detailed introduction. I am Valentine Tenge. I am an Africa Youth Climate Finance Fellow and an investment consultant working in Nairobi, Kenya. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Jack, for your introduction.
Very good day to everyone on the call. My name is Jack Kumalo from the Kingdom of Eswatini, and I'm also a fellow in the Africa Youth Climate Finance Fellowship. And I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion. I'm the Chief Financial Officer and co-founder of Clean Code, which is a youth-led startup. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the team for the motion, for their introduction. We will now turn over to the team against the motion, beginning with Ms. AYCFF. Over to you.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. I'm excited to be here. My name is AYCFF. I'm from Liberia. I'm an African Youth Climate Finance Fellow, an infrastructure finance professional, and a climate advocate. We are excited for this debate today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. We'll now turn over to T-Guest for her introduction.
Thank you, Noro. Hello, everyone. My name is Tigist Elias, and I'm from Ethiopia. I'm a PhD candidate in thermal engineering in Addis Ababa University, and I'm also working as a design engineer fellow in one of the clinical stock companies. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much to both teams for the introduction. We will now begin with opening arguments, beginning with the team for the motion. Over to you, Valentine, for your opening arguments.
Thank you, Noru. So maybe to set the record straight, we'd like to, the team in support of the motion is here to argue not against carbon credits, but we are sort of asking Africa to take a step back and review what we've been doing. Our general feeling is that the global carbon markets are growing faster than Africa's readiness to lead it. And if we continue rushing into selling credits before building a very strong green value chain, we risk repeating the same tragic pattern where Africa continues to be, the supplier of raw climate goods, raw materials, and return, we sort of get the breadcrumbs in every other deal. So we are here to argue that Africa needs to first build its green value chain so that one, we are able to sell even, way more stronger and valid carbon credits with a solid, reliable base that one doesn't lead to any um, community disenfranchisement, lack of satisfaction, and pretty much you're getting $2 per credit for credits that are going for as high as 45 to 50 USDs in the global market. So as a continent, we need to stop settling for being the world's carbon sink and participate in being the real players, the real solvers of carbon problems. Yeah, I think that would be it for me.
Thank you so much for that opening argument, Valentine. We'll now turn over to you, Jack, for your opening argument.
Thank you, moderator, for giving me the opportunity to state my case. Firstly, I would like to for us to just look at how blessed we are as Africa, because we have this abundant natural capital. And the first time around, we were not able to capitalize on these on our resources. When it comes to oil, gold, where we were exploited. And you really get a second chance as a person or as a continent to really start to put your best foot forward. For us, look at African countries now rushing to build these oil refineries and the gold refineries, because most of these resources of these refineries were offshore. They were not on the African continent. And for us, in the carbon market, we should build these green value chains and not have the same fate as the other natural resources, because now we're learned and we know that in the carbon markets, the carbon sinks that we sell are going for $3 to $5, whilst the other nations are selling for $30 to even to $40. We need to multiply the value, and the only way we can multiply the value is to build these green carbon chains, so we can be able to multiply the value, and also that the African community can benefit from it. We are championing the people. We're not asking for a delay. We're asking for a structured entry, that we should have the structures in place, the necessary structures in place, so we can reap as much as possible and localize the economy so the African community can benefit. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the team for the motion. Before we move on to the team against the motion, if you have any questions, we'd like to encourage you to kindly write them in the chat. We know we do have time for questions and answers, and we will be able to make sure that debaters respond to your questions. Thank you so much. Over to the team against the motion. Beginning with Awake, kindly give your opening argument.
Thank you, Noel. Do you know that the voluntary carbon markets are projected to grow between 5 to 50 times, expanding from an estimated value of approximately 2 billion to about 40 billion by 2030? Projection indicates that Africa alone can generate about 1.5 trillion by 2050 in the carbon market. If Africa delay entering the carbon market, we risk losing essential fundings that can be ultimately invested in green infrastructures that can help us combat climate change and promote climate adaptation, and help with disaster risk management, and empower our local communities while also creating jobs for our people. By participating in the green carbon in the carbon markets now, Africa has the opportunity to shift industry standards, enhance our reputation, gain trust, gain influence, gain investor trust in the market, and emerge as leaders within this space while participating and learning and growing at the same time. Most importantly, this early participation enables Africa to tap into significant market demand capitalize on growing opportunities, and benefit from early market entry, which is very important. For decades, Africa ecosystems and our natural rainforests has been removing carbon from the atmospheres for free. Our people have been practicing sustainable agriculture and regenerative agriculture on a smaller scale over a long period of time. So this is not new to us, all right? Now we have a chance to be paid for something that we've been doing for free naturally. I say, let's make use of this, all right? I say, let's get involved. Let's create a virtuous cycle. Let's sell carbon credits, fund green systems, build capacity, sell better credits, and generate cash flow over and over. Africa does not have to choose between selling carbon credits and building green value chains. The two can coexist. Thank you.
The two can coexist. What an opening argument. Thank you so much, Awake. We'll now turn over to T-Guest for her opening argument.
Thank you, Noru. So, if we see clearly, they are saying we must wait. We must wait until we build green value chain. Green value chain is desirable. It's clean energy, it's renewable energy, green hydrogen, solar panels, forestry, anything that's desirable, which requires fund and investment. So what we are saying is Africa has the capacity to develop and to sequestrate at the same time. So we are sequestrating the carbon emitted with our natural forestry. So we don't need to build today. We don't need to start building, waiting for 10, 12 years until we sequestrate and sell carbon. We can sell our natural things that we can leverage and then also build the green value chain. That's what I'm saying. Every year, 100 up to 110 million people suffer from the climate disaster in the continent. 6 million people displaced or dislocated, and 8 up to 10 million people affected by event of flood, drought, and everything. We need finance for this. This is why the carbon credit and the carbon finance mechanism is created for. You know, the nature will do its natural thing, whether we pay it or not. But we are facing a problem because of an existing situation with this emission. If the continent is only emitting 4% of the global, why not get the money and like solve the problems and also build at the same time? Why should we wait? What are we waiting for? So I'm saying Africa should sell and also build at the same time. We can do that, as my friend Awaka says. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we just heard from both teams. One team is arguing for the motion that indeed Africa should not rush. Africa needs to ensure that the proper structures and mechanisms are put into place to ensure that we're not exploited when we get into the carbon market or carbon offset, but we benefit more. So these mechanisms and these systems will try to ensure that Africa gets what it's deserved from the carbon market. And we also listen to the opposing team that argue that we can both sell and at the same time build, because there's no more time. Africa has been heavily impacted by climate-induced disasters, and we need finance. We need money to be able to respond to these climate disasters. And we have for so long been involved into sustainable form of agriculture, ensuring that we build our carbon sink, and now it's about time that we benefit from that. Okay, so now we'll go over to the team for the motion. Do you have any rebuttal to what the team against the motion just said?
Yeah, I think I'll start, and
Please
of
go
course
ahead.
I'm going after Awake very, aggressively. I think as Africans, we've sort of been in every ride, every sort of development, like it's fear of missing out. So carbon markets are like, the newest kid on the block. And again, remember the proposing side is fully in support of, the potential of the carbon credits in whichever industry they're applicable to. But let's look at the case in point right now. I think FSD Africa did a report recently, and what came out of the report was that over 80% of carbon credit value flew offshore, even for projects that were 100% based in Africa. We recently have seen like an uproar in what's happening in Kajiado, which is one of the regions in Kenya that has been let's say one of the testing centers or the early adopters of carbon credits, and we've seen that communities there earn less than 10%. These projects were validated by foreign entities. They were priced in foreign currencies and mostly negotiated under foreign legal systems. So it's more or less you're bringing a solution, and really that doesn't really appeal to the local community, and we are sort of rushing into a situation where I think over 70%, I think Kenya has sort of we've already done, I think, more than 70%, 70 projects registered in Kenya. And what we currently see is that we are behind schedule. I think we just recently launched the draft regulations on carbon registry. And if we've already done 70 plus projects, that shows you how much, vulnerable our communities are. We are busy rushing into, salivating or sort of drooling just because there's money on the table when you can simply, wait. And most importantly, I think one thing that makes the voluntary carbon credit mechanisms in Kenya a bit flawed is that in Africa we still don't have like compliance markets. So it's more or less fully voluntary. It's a fully voluntary market, and as a proper climate finance professional, this is, the world kicking the can down the road. We don't want to face, serious solutions that lead to decarbonization, but we want to come up with mechanisms that allow polluters in other parts of the world to create a very nice sugar-coated story on how we can, sort of get away with the emission story. And yet what we need to be focusing on is what are the real decarbonization methods that Africa can harness. I think I saw an article by the Strathmore VC today in the Business Daily on how we can harness green hydrogen, and that allows us to have even more high integrity carbon credits. Yeah, so if we can't take a step back, then it means Africa continues going to, this table. And I think the last time we said we are under the table, not even sitting on the table, because all we are doing is receiving, remnants, and we can sit back, wait, and develop strong green value chains.
I like to address you, Valentine, right? Okay. So I know you're an investment professional and you know how important demand and supply is. And you know how important in an early market entrant is. The carbon market is not static, it's evolving, it's growing, it's changing. Mistakes will be made. All right. The greater the risk in investment, the higher the reward. Mistakes are bound to be made. They are inevitable. We cannot avoid them. So us sitting back and waiting so that we become mistake-free before getting involved, I say no. That's not how life works. You get involved, you get your hands dirty, you work your way out, you make mistakes, you learn, you collect data, and you make informed decisions based on the data that you already have because you've participated. You're now waiting for somebody from the global north to give you data about yourself or tell you what is happening because now you are involved. You talk about carbon credits, and 80% of carbon credits being sold overseas. It's not a lie that a bulk of our carbon credits are being sold overseas. But now, do not neglect the fact that we are also selling local carbon credits. Okay, Egypt, for example, recently issued carbon credits on the local market. These were local exchange. Local exchange is happening in Africa. Rwanda did the same. Okay, or is preparing to do the same. We are not just selling overseas. We are involving, we are learning, we are creating frameworks. Like in Zambia, local laws are being made to protect our people and doing the climate within the carbon market and encourage climate investments. All right. We're not scared of missing out. We are scared of missing opportunities that are here now that we can hop on and maximize. We are saying milk the cow, make use of the opportunity that is here before us now. To now wait. What are we waiting for? We can do by learn. We can learn by doing. I mean, get involved, practice, be a participant, so that people take you seriously. This is what we are asking for. Why growing green value chains at the same time? Okay. You spoke about local communities being marginalized. Like I said, mistakes are meant to be made, but people are correcting. Like for Kenya instead, Kenya has now passed the law that 40% of carbon credits and generated within should like benefit local communities, right? Your country just passed that. You have a framework that now provides 40% of income from carbon credits being sold to go back to local communities. We are correcting our mistakes, right? You spoke about the voluntary and involuntary carbon markets. We know that people on the involuntary carbon markets, they have like a cap, right? And when you exceed your cap, you're able to purchase carbon credits on the voluntary carbon markets to like offset your emission. This is not a new.
Jump in there, Awake.
This is not a new financial mechanism. It's done in renewable energy, where companies sell their RECs. When you produce more renewable electricity than you actually required to do, you're able to sell your renewable energy certificates to other companies and gain money from it. It's the same that the other companies are doing. Purchasing, it's like purchasing RECs from somebody else because you do not have like renewable energy credits. So it's like people who are emitting, and companies who are emitting and have reached that cap, they are purchasing from the voluntary market to set up their emission. It's not like they're dumping carbon into the atmosphere because they have money to pay for it. No, these people are being held accountable by the involuntary markets. So that they're not sit here and act like there's no repercussion or there's no guidelines that's governing things. Okay? I want to make that clear.
I think my main point is that would you rather a premature entry where we're getting into weak arguments?
What is your definition of premature? Because I know Egypt started her recycling, and Egypt had this project where they were like recording old vehicles from their environment and replacing them with new ones that like are less and they're less possible to they have less emission. I mean, and they started that way in 2015 or 2014.
Oh, okay. Could you give us an opportunity?
It has been going on for a long time. What do you call
Thank you so much, Awake.
Give us an opportunity to rebuttal your points.
Hello, thank you so much.
Why you call premature? We have been doing this over the years.
Thank you, Awake. I know we are feeling the both teams. We are getting the heat of the debate as our team are debating and rebutting. We'd like to ask you to please continue to write your questions in the chat so that they can respond later on. We'll now move over to the team for the motion, hearing from Jack. Jack, kindly give your rebuttal.
All right. Thank you, moderator. For Awake, we're not asking for people to delay. We're asking for people to build the necessary green value chains that will multiply the value. And we understand the urgency. We don't understand the haste. We see that as the World Bank and Power Shift Africa have said, there's major leakage in inequalities. If we don't address these things before we go in, we don't have the technical capacity to handle those volume of issues that will be coming through. So we're asking the countries that are not yet in the carbon markets to prepare, because those countries, we're very lucky, those countries, the likes of Kenya, South Africa, Gabon, they are in the markets and they prove our point. You need to build these green value chains. And some countries are not there yet. We need you to build the green value chains before you can start maximizing the value. Because as Valentine has said, 80% of the value of this carbon credits is lost to foreign intermediaries. So we need to address that. And when you are selling something and you don't really get the value of that thing, understand that you are the product yourselves. I'm not a big fan of carbon offset markets. We are the ones who are most vulnerable to climate change, but we are the ones who admit the least, and I believe that we should be prepared. These should not repeat itself. Firstly, it was the exploitation of resources. Now we are very blessed with natural capital. We need to make sure that we have the fundamental systems in place and this green value chain, so we can get the bulk of the value to put African priorities first. Because if we go in there, we are not going to be a player in the game. We're going to be prey because we don't know the rules. We're not well prepared. We should be well prepared. Leaking pipes. When you put water in leaking pipes, put more water, it does not solve the problem. The leak gets larger. It gets larger. So we should fix that.
I don't think we're understanding the concept of building green value chain. As I hear Jack and Valentine, what I'm understanding is they're talking about policy development. Like, the carbon market has been here, the continent has been using it. Some countries have a policy starting from 2020, and we are talking Africans as a global citizen. We have amendments, we have agendas, we have agreed on the Paris Agreement, we have Article 6 and everything. So if we are talking about a global citizen, we're supposed to meet an NDC. We're supposed to meet an NDC as a global citizen. We have to reduce, even if we're emitting 4%, we have to reduce from this. And when we are planning to reduce things, we have to invest on things. The countries has planned to reduce, the countries in the continent. They need investment for that. And they're interdependent. Whether we like it or not, the universe is interdependent. It's the system. And as you talk, when I hear you, you're not talking about building a factory, you're not talking about recycling, you're talking about policy. For that, the African Carbon Market Initiative has already placed something for us. In 2023, seeing the gap between the Europe and the Europe market, which is the compulsory carbon market and the voluntary carbon market, to fit the gap or to fill the gap, the African Carbon Market Initiative has put 13 points and is trying to do some things. This is existence. That's what we are saying. If we are present, we can prepare to see the problem and to solve the things that we're facing.
Tigis, I can hear you.
Absent, the extrapolation and the problem will happen then. If we are watching, rules will be set. To set the bare minimum, we have to be there. Okay.
Tigis, when I hear your point, it's not championing the people. You want a quick fix. We are here for the people.
Not a quick fix.
The value of it is going offshore. We're not getting the value of this carbon.
Why are we not getting the value? That's what I'm saying.
We're championing the people. It's all about the people benefiting from it.
I think Tigis, let's just rewind and see how you shot yourself in the foot, right? What we are currently saying is let's look at the underlying and let's unpack what voluntary carbon markets are like to an 8-year-old. Currently, the underlying asset for most voluntary carbon markets is either forestry projects or clean cooking stoves, right? One of the issues you're seeing with like forestation and all that is like we're not so sure about the measurements, about the emissions we claim to reduce. We've had very heated discussions with you about emissions leakage with cook stoves, where an African household has the clean cooking stove, but on the side they still use the traditional either charcoal and whatnot, and yet as within these emissions calculations, we claim and say that this African household is no longer using the 3-stone fireplace and whatnot. What we are saying is that can we have more like green value chains allow us to create a very a baseline that me and you can clearly say, wow, this is maybe an electrical arc furnace for a steel recycling plant in Kenya. It means we no longer have more steel production in the northern world, and most of the steel is recycled in Africa. That way you have a solid baseline. You you can, both me and you can agree and say,
Are you suggesting people are not supposed to use clean cooking or clean cook stove?
I'm
It's a
saying
problem.
when
One of the
using
problems that we
green
are
value
facing is,
chain, green
can
value
you,
chains provide a credible, measurable way for us to, even create a case for carbon credits. What you're getting now is that there's a lot of
I'm not
politics,
against that.
there's a lot of,
I'm not against that. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, when you see the carbon market, you're only seeing it from the money perspective. That's why I start stating the number of people who are suffering because of this. And thank you for bringing clean cook stove. We are talking about people who are using stone in this generation when we are wondering about AI, Mars, and everything. If we have a solution for that, be it carbon market or anything, we have to rush. This is not desperation. This is about life. This is women and children suffering. That's why I'm against your position, which is saying, let's hold on. When we hold on, we are allowing women to die because of emission. And then we will say, sorry, we don't have the policy, so people die. Would that make sense? What does it mean for me? So I'm saying, I know the money is like $10, $5, it reaches up to 20, but it's helping people and saving lives. And if you are planning to build green value chain before involved in the carbon or climate finance mechanism, we will be waiting for 30, 40, and 60 years, which will be 2 generations consecutively facing similar problem that we have been facing for the past decades and
when I hear
centuries.
you speaking about that, it's the money. This money is not getting to the people. That's what we're talking about. The inequality within the country. This money is not getting to the African community.
Jack,
You can
and
talk
that is
about
not a
all these
carbon market
problems.
problem.
This
That
money
is
is not getting to
institutional
the
problem.
people.
That is an institutional problem, not a carbon market problem. Okay,
That's not a carbon market
credit,
problem.
you get
We
your money.
need to
Why your
solve
government
that.
decide to do with the
We
money?
need to solve that. That's a
carbon
system
market.
problem.
It's an institutional problem, okay? And we as African and young climate ambassadors, we are advocating for better ways of treating our people. We are here to hold government accountable so that they use funds for its intended purpose. That is not a carbon market issue. That is an institutional problem. You spoke about technical capacity lacking. Most of the reports from Africa will always state that we lack technical capacity, but yeah, Tiga is doing her PhD, right, Tiga, or master's in industrial engineering, right? And designing clean cooking stuff. Gary is fighting Tiga with over 10 years of experience in the investment industry. But the other side, you say we lack capacity. How do we gain capacity? By learning, by doing, right? The carbon market is new. Even for the North, they are continuously learning as they go along. We're not going to get capacity by sitting on the sidewalk. We are going to get capacity by getting involved now and learning, being part of the process, and not waiting for expatriates to, after they've learned, and come and teach us again like it has always been for decades.
Awake. Doing both in tandem dilutes the capacity, and it weakens our long-term gains.
Why are you underestimating us? We are smart people. Why are you doing this?
Let me ask you one question. If you can answer this question for me, if you can answer this.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
If you can answer this question for me.
Please, go ahead, Jack.
Yes. Answer me this question, Awake. With telecommunications, did we first build the signal towers and all the wirings, we had them in place before we made the first call? Did we need to build all the infrastructure before we make the first call? Did we do that?
You need that physical infrastructure.
Yes, we definitely did.
You do not need
the carbon market shouldn't be the exceptions.
You do not need renewable energy to sell carbon credits. You can sell carbon credits based on your emissions you are reducing from your natural rainforest, and use the money and build renewable energy sources. This is what we are saying. The two can coexist. We are not against.
Doesn't make sense.
Mind you, we are not against green value chains. We are not against green value chains. We are for. But we said the two can coexist. Get the money and invest in green value chains.
Thank you so much, Awake. We'll now hear from Tiges. Tiges, just give a minute. We'll now hear from you, and then we'll move back to the team for the motion. Over to you, Tiges.
Thank you. As I hear you speaking, you're confusing policy with the green value chain. First of all, in the voluntary carbon market, you can sell for whatever, whether it be forestry or renewable energy. And in the voluntary carbon market, for your surprise, the forestry will be $10 and the renewable will be $5. And we are advocating to take 10, 20 years building, which is the green value chain, which is the renewable and everything, to sell it with that price if we are not there in the system, if we are not there in the room. We have to think as about a global citizen. We have to be there. I can say I will not, as an Ethiopian, I can say I will not meet the NDC. I'm not interested. I will go out of this system and I will come back when I get the power and everything. The world doesn't work like that. You have to be there. Like you can't
Thank
get
you.
old without touching the dust or the, okay.
I think
Thank you. Thank you so much, the guest. We'll move over to the team for the motion to give their full argument, please.
what you're trying to say is, let me try to give an example. Like the most accessible example is, let's say you have a farm and you have very low yields, yeah, and you're taking this product to the market and you're not getting value. So you're told maybe in whatever way we measure our produce as Africans, this isn't a good yield, right? What you're saying is, can we take a step back and maybe do the in very in direct translation, maybe improve the yield, the quality of our soil, so that we can have better yield and get better value for the market. What you guys are arguing is like, let's go on and continue to weaken our systems, and let's just get in as much as we are not equipped. What you're saying is the current value of carbon credits that Africa has, or Africa is participating in, is not really giving us value for money. Can we? Yes, we already have developments here, but what you're saying is we might be able to reap more and gain more value and even contribute, like practically, like real adults in the table, yeah, to the climate solution, and not just take the breadcrumbs that come with underdeveloped markets. It's easy to say we can do both, but in reality, one will always eat into the other. It's very hard for you to say you're going to do that concurrently. And when I hear TJ saying 10 years, we had in our previous discussion, we compared timelines of how much it takes for you for let's say a red program, to come to fruition from like inception to, for you to now, harness and have the money at hand, compared to a simple setup of like let's say a pilot steel recycling plant in Kenya. That would take, I think, 12 to 24 months, and you start reaping benefits from the carbon credits immediately. So let's have that sort of practical approach to it. It's not one discouraging the use of carbon credits, but more or less, what value are we getting for our money? Is it okay for us to just rush in and continue being guinea pigs? And we've discussed before on like the Abraham Maslow's stages of needs: food, shelter, clothing, education. As an investment professional, I do know there are very many ways to design instruments, and we are not saying that on the table. But then the moment you say carbon markets, it's suddenly a $3 trillion addressable market. That what's the underlying? Do we really know what it is we are trading for? Yeah, because right now it may seem normal to say maybe this portion of land was traded for 40 years and whatever, but generations down the line, people will look at you like, how could you make such decisions? It might seem normal, but it's important for us to sit and sort of evaluate the underlying from a very professional and sort of long-term level. Yeah.
Valinda, I agree that there are rooms for improvement, okay? And I keep saying we cannot downplay the efforts of other African countries that have successfully done this, right? And they are not selling out their generational land for 40, 50 years. Will other people make mistakes? Yes, it's inevitable. We cannot avoid it, but we can advocate and teach and speak out so that people learn to not make these mistakes, right? And are there room for like are there room for growth in this market? Yes. Can we trade locally with each other? Yes, let's do it. This is something that other African countries have been doing. We can encourage that. Can we participate in the global market as well? Yes, let's do it. Because if we want international investors to take us seriously, we have to have experience with trading within the global and international carbon markets. This is what we are saying. We're not saying like let people exploit us. Let's sit back and no, we are saying get involved, learn. You are bound to make a mistake, like a child learning how to walk. You will fall, you get up, and you keep going. You learn from your mistakes. You create better frameworks. You protect your people with your local laws. These are things that we have in our control. These are things that we have control of. Let's do it. Let's put all of the mechanism in place along with selling the carbon credits. We can do that. Frameworks are being created. Nations are drafting their NDCs. Why others are selling carbon credits and doing the same thing? Why not do it together? I mean, it has been shown that you can do it together. The two can coexist. Other African countries has proven it, Valentine. This is our point. Let's integrate this in all of the African countries. Let's do this. Let's have this virtual cycle of selling carbon credits, using the money in green and grow green systems, sell better credits, gain influence in the market, gain investor trust, and gain more money to invest within our own economies. This is what we are saying. We're not saying like turn a blind eye to all of the wrong that could happen. I mean, what are you wait now? You wait 20 or 50 years. If you're about to make mistakes, you are going to make mistakes. Your mistakes are just going to be different. That's all.
What I hear
Thank you.
saying
Over to
is-
you, Jack. Over to you, Jack.
Yeah.
There are those green value chains that are low cost that we can do. And when it comes to negotiating in the carbon markets, if we don't build these green value chains, we'll be negotiating from a position, a low value position. And I don't think what we say will be sort of taken seriously because we don't have leverage. In negotiation, when you go into a negotiation, you should have some sort of leverage. And the way we build this leverage is to build these green value chains. Because I hear you talking that we need to go in, but we don't have we can't do two things at the same time. As Valentine has said, one will eat into the other. We'll end up prioritizing getting more revenue from the carbon markets than actually building these green value chains. That's what I'm saying.
And I keep saying, yeah, I think as you can go ahead.
Thank you. So you kept repeating like we can't do two things at one time. A country do like thousands of things at a time. Why not do two things at a time? We can do it. The green value chain needs investment. Yes, we need the green value chain. You are saying like we have to build the green value chain. Yes, and then we will sell the carbon, which we reduce or sequestrate through the green value chain. But what we are saying is we have the natural way that we have sequestrated and that can be sold. And also for the carbon credit from the reduction of biomass, like directly or indirectly, we can use that. We were talking about clean cook stove, right? For example, if we are considering clean cook stove, we will be giving or producing clean cook stove. For starters, the carbon market is not like a lucrative business, so any businessman will not be interested to come initially if they don't have the base. That's why we are saying 80% is going out, because they have the financial strength to wait for 3 up to 5 years or something until it has been monitored and validated and everything. So if we have the system, if we have the financial strength to wait for 5 years and like get the return, to wait for a year and 2 and get the return, but we already have.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I'm not getting you. We have sequestrated some amount of carbon.
No, Tigist, what I'm going to say is that what's important is...
Thank you, Jack. Kindly go give your point.
You know, what I'm saying is that we understand the urgency, but this isn't whether Africa should sell the carbon credits. It's about when and what, under what conditions should it sell these carbon credits. Selling carbon credits too early without the green value chains in place will make Africa a raw carbon exporter instead of a green industry leader. You know,
I like to address that, right? Why are you talking like we don't have any green value chain? That is a disservice to Africa. Africa has been building green value chain all our lives. Our natural rainforest, for one example, that is a major green value chain. From the geothermal project in Kenya to the mini grids built in Liberia to the 276 gigawatts of electricity in that was just added to Kenya National Grid. We have been building green value chains, okay?
So
Sustainable
where's the
agriculture in
value?
Egypt.
Are we getting the value for
Sustainable
those green carbon
agriculture in
credits?
Egypt. Oh, you
Are we
No,
getting
it
the
means it's not
value?
a problem of green
we are
value
Are we
chain.
advocates
trading
for
those
climate
at
change, right?
40 to
We are
50
Thank you
metric
advocates for
so
climate
much.
tons?
change. We
We're
are
not.
advocates for
Thank you
climate
so
change.
much.
Sustainable
Hello.
agriculture is here saving lands, right? Producing food to end malnutrition and poverty in parts of Africa.
We need
These
more
are green
green
value
value
chains.
chains. We need them. Where's the value in that?
I
Where is
think
it?
my
Do
question,
you know how much emissions
Hello.
sustainable agriculture
Thank
remove from the atmosphere?
you.
Jack, come on,
Thank
you're not being
Where's the
so
fair.
value?
much.
I'm talking about the
Thank
value.
you, Tim. Thank you
Emission
so much.
reduction. Where you
Hello.
how do you think
Hello.
carbon credits are produced?
Hello, Awake, hello. Thank you both so much. I know it's getting really heated. And if you're watching kindly, continue to use the chat, put your perspectives, your points in the chat so that we keep track of it. Would now like to hear again from the team for the motion to Valentine, and then we'll come back to the team against the motion. Valentine, please go ahead.
is this the closing statement? Or
No,
are you
we're still
passing?
on rebuttal. You wanted to speak. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think I wanted to ask Awake, like, so if we do have green value chains, why are they not the underlying, why can't we still see like real value? I think if you look at the news every day, the news is always we have there's this large funding gap. Always, continuously, we have a large funding gap. We have a large funding gap. If we do have, reasonable green value chains, then why are we not, why are we getting $2 from something that's priced as high as $50? What are we doing? Yeah, it
I like to
doesn't
answer
make
your
sense.
question.
Yeah.
Jack insinuated that Africa has zero green value chain. And that is the particular statement I was
He
reporting.
didn't insinuate that.
I'm not saying we have
value.
these on a vast scale. Are there room for improvement? I've been saying this throughout this debate. There are room for improvements. There are room for scaling up. Yes, we can scale up our green value chains, but for you to insinuate that Africa has no green value chain, this is where I say I'm against that. I say no. We have green value chains. We have been creating green value chains over our lifespan. All right? And there is room for us to expand this. And we should use the money from selling carbon credits to improve our green value chains. We can do it together. This debate is not about us being against creating green value chains. It's about doing it together. The two can coexist. This is our point. We can build and sell.
Thank you, Awake. Tiges, do you have any point to that?
Yeah, thank you. For starters,
Okay.
I agree
Okay, go ahead.
I agree that the amount that we are getting for the carbon is low. I agree 100%. And I was reading something on the chat, and I'm really sorry to read that also. But it's not because of the not creating the green value chain or creating the green value chain. The gap between the compulsory carbon market and the voluntary carbon market, the reason that you get when you read is like, because there's a cost for verification, a cost for travel is stated as a problem to get like a level carbon market value. It's not a problem of green value chain. It's a problem of setting the floor, the amount. So if we decide as a continent, Africa will start selling, starting from 2026 or something, a minimum of $20. That's the thing, or a minimum of this. That's not a green value chain. That's a policy thing. A green value chain, we are building it to sequestrate more. We already have the green value chain, as Aweke says, because in Ethiopia, for example, we are 100% renewable for electricity, right? We have forestry. So existing things are there, you know? It's not the problem. The problem is setting the floor. To set the floor, as I said earlier, there are people and companies working around there. Do we like the pace? Is there any change? That's another story. But it's not a green value chain problem. It's a policy problem. It's a problem of giving our peoples the training that they need. Many people in Africa don't know about selling carbon. It's an air for them. For most of us, even when we start reading, we start understanding. We have to speak in our language. I have to say in Amharic, carbon yishetan or something, you know? And we have to define train because nobody then come and agree on their land to take on and sign. So if we really value the carbon market, we will start giving trainings, class and everything. But in this position, we are not even valuing it. We are avoiding it.
Okay, Tigist, I can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our both teams for very heated but counterproductive, as someone said, debate. We'd like to hear from our participants. If you have questions, you can just quickly raise your hand. There are a lot of comments in the group chat. I will just maybe pick a few of them. Someone said Africa must prioritize building a strong green value chain first, while strategically engaging in carbon markets, not as sellers of low value carbon credits, but as architects of fair, high value. Selling carbon credits now can lock Africa into extractive, low value roles. Keep in mind that carbon credit risks becoming the new climate commodity trap, where Africa supplies the global north and receives little in return. Green value chains create long-term wealth. Africa should participate in carbon markets, but on its own terms. Thank you so much. If you have questions, please raise your hands. There are a lot of comments in the chat. A lot of perspectives are being shared. Sorry, I can't see the hands up, but if you have any questions, just raise your hands quickly and we'll allow you to ask your questions. But also there's another point in the chat that talks about the topic. Someone is saying the key takeaway, they're sharing the key takeaway: we need to develop stronger green value chains in Africa before engaging in carbon markets. And they're just sharing key takeaways from different debaters. Thank you so much. Someone said, wow, just wow. You all have been swaying my emotions left, right, and center. Wow, this is so inspiring.
There are
Okay, we're
hands in
now
chat.
going on to Ethiopia. Yes, I see one hand up. Sorry, the name there is Ethiopia, so I don't know if that's your name, but you have the floor. Please go ahead. Ethiopia?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It was very productive to hear from all four of you. I support the topic on the side of Tigist and Awaka. Like currently, I'm working on carbon market also. So when we see Africa, we are currently getting like pennies on the dollar on everything. At least in carbon credit, we can control some of it. Like we can provide everything to see where we can go. What I mean by that is like, for example, in Ethiopia, there are projects we are doing currently. So for those projects, if we provide enough tracking of the carbon, we can get at least from $10 to $15 for the credit. That means we can build based on that to do other projects. So when they say like, let's sell now and build as we go, if we are competent enough, we can sell for better market price and also grow together so that we can be like competent in the future. Like if we can see in the European countries, a single carbon credit is sold between $35 and $40. So those are done because they track it properly. They are organized. So in order to be on par with them, like if we have financial support from our own carbon credit, we can be competent in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that, for sharing your perspective. Okay, you now have the floor, Wambugu. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Ombugu Robinson Mohota. I'm more of an enthusiast on the topic itself, and my question is simple. Are we having the right form of the argument presented at this point in time? It's clear to me that two things haven't happened over the course of this debate. It might sound a little like criticism, but bear with me here. It's on the idea of defining key terms here. I believe green value chains concern themselves with a couple of things, and it's an entire web of activities that isn't just carbon assets themselves. So countries might try and say that their biggest carbon asset that they can then sell is prime land that acts as carbon sinks or green projects that attempt to sequester carbon. But value chains often tend to comprise themselves of multiple components. Some of that might be policy, some of that might be the impact on low income communities, because as you had clearly pointed out at some point in the debate, they still have an issue with verifying certain metrics of a green or sustainable move towards carbon sequestration, like with clean cook stoves, but the additional use of other traditional means. To bring us back to the question at hand, when we speak about value chains, what are the critical and core components that comprise that term, and how are they embedded into communities such that it becomes that we think of the issue in and of itself in a systems thinking manner, that the issue is hard related, that providing clean cooking stove doesn't necessarily uh, disincentivize the use of traditional cooking methods. It might indicate to an energy poverty crisis. So, can we address the energy poverty crisis and in turn create the opportunity for us to say that we're moving further away from the production of carbon while still providing green solutions? That, to my understanding, is a green value chain, but it still isn't clearly worked out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll take our last speaker, Samuels. You have the floor. Please go ahead quickly.
Yeah, thank you.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I'm Simeon. The name is Simeon. Yeah, just in line with what the just concluded speaker said, I think that's perfectly, we share the same perspective actually. When we talk about a value chain, what are we actually considering? You understand? Are we considering policy? Are we considering frameworks? Because now looking at what Africa, we only emit about or less than 4% of global emission. How best can we incorporate these green value bonds into our system? It's not something we just can grab say because there is money on the desk or there's money on the table. No, we need to develop frameworks because as at now, sorry, I'm an international student here in Germany. I'm in Germany currently. I'm studying energy and green hydrogen. There are lots of policies reforms going on now relating to the energy transition. So as Africa as a continent in general, we are poised, the people are interested in the resources that we have. Exactly. So there's lots of interest now from international donors, partners to invest in Africa. So it's better that as continents we can structure or position ourselves to be able to harness some of these resources from these people when they come to sign agreement with us. So going back to the question is if it's timely for us to engage in green bonds or the value chain, I think we need to go back and develop our sector first. Let's look at how best we can mobilize our resources, develop our sector capacity building. So at the end of it all, we are able to embark on this transition or
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll just squeeze in Edward. We are running out of time, but Edward, you have 1 minute, please. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. For me, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your insights. And I also wanted to highlight that I think building green value chains in Africa should align with S1 and S2 standards, and be compatible with transitioning running for both African economies and multinational investors to ensure credibility and long-term capture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bad. Okay. Thank you so much. We'll now turn back to our debaters to give their closing argument. We'll turn over to the team for the motion, beginning with Valentine. Please give your closing argument.
Thank you, Noru. So I think what is very clear to me is that finance has to come with integrity, not desperation. Yeah. Yes, we do need climate finance very urgently, but we can't sell we can't sell ourselves short by participating in cheap extractive finance mechanisms. And Africa can dare itself to build the green value chains first. And I bet you we won't have any need to even participate in the carbon markets in terms of, oh, we have this level of financing gap and all that, because that one creates local jobs for people. We are able to participate in the global export markets in a more mature way, and in a way that ensures that we capture real value for our producers. And Kenya is a very good example of what happens when you get into the carbon markets prematurely, chasing revenue instead of chasing real impact and real emissions reductions. We've seen poor community benefit sharing. We've seen weak contracts and 100% or maybe 90 to 99% offshore profit capture. So building green value chains, as much as it may be slow, which I still think would be much faster than the current lag that takes place in a lot of the carbon project programs, and it can be foundational. And what you're saying is that let's invest in bankable green infrastructure first, so that carbon markets can become a multiplier. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's invest in value chains so that carbon market can be a multiplier. Over to you, Jack.
Thank you. I will just echo what the people who posed the question in the chat. For me, green value chains, it's the green industry, it's the infrastructure, and it's the institutional backbone that is used to manage these revenue for me. And I believe that we should build these green value chains so that we can benefit, the African community can benefit from these carbon revenues. And we're championing the people. It's all about everyone benefiting because they are from Africa. This is their birthright. They should benefit from the revenues of this carbon. And we should not see ourselves in the same situation we're in when it comes to our other natural resources, be it the oil, be it the gold, where most of the refinery was done offshore. We want African priorities to be put on the forefront. We need the leverage, and the only way we're going to get leverage is when we build these green value chains, and we can talk or be in a position of power where we have these high value carbon credits that we're selling to the people. We should champion people, not money. We're not looking for a quick fix. We want the people to benefit from the carbon revenue because it's their birthright. We have abundant natural capital. We are championing the people. We're not asking for a delay. We're calling for a structured entry. Thank you.
We are not asking for a delay. We are calling for a structured entry. What a powerful way to end there. Thank you so much to the team for the motion. We'll now turn over to the team against the motion, beginning with Awake. Over to you.
Thank you, No. Thank you. And I'd like to say that inequality, bad deals, exploitations, they are not carbon market problems. They are institutional problems. And I double down on it. It is an institutional problem. Before the 1970s, Singapore was one of the poorest countries. But now a small, tiny island is one of the world's richest countries. They use what they had, all right? Were they exploited? Maybe. Did they lose at some point in time? Yeah. But the higher the risk, the higher the reward. And now Singapore is one of the world's richest countries on earth. The carbon market is indeed volatile, I agree. However, the rules are currently being shaped. This means that countries and companies worldwide are defining the standards that will govern this market. And if we are not participating, if we are not there, telling them that this particular rule does not apply to us, does not benefit us, we will, after 5, 6 years, when we are ready, or 15 years, when we are finally ready to enter the market, we will be using rules that do not benefit us. We will be using regulations that are not favorable for us because we weren't there when these rules were made, because nobody is thinking about us on the table right now. By participating now in carbon markets, Africa can ensure that rules fit us, that it supports our local developmental goals. As youth leaders and champions for climate advocacy, I'm begging us, please, let us advocate for active involvement and secure our seats at the table now with purposeful participation. The carbon market aims to drive decarbonization, though it has financial incentives. And we all know money is a great motivation. So if we want to decarbonize our environment, let's make use out of this carbon market now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's engage and secure our seats at the table to be able to have purposeful participation. Thank you so much, Awake. For any on that note, over to you, T-Guest.
Thank you, Noru. So I'm saying the continent is investing only 1.5% of its GDP on green value chain. And if we are really hoping that it's gonna happen, like Valentina says, in 2 years, no, that's a dream. It's gonna happen in 30 years, in 40 years, or 60 years. And we are losing peoples every year. People are being dislocated every year. And mothers and children are suffering from the things that they are not supposed to suffer at this time and day. Yes, Africa needs the baseline for its market, the baseline amount. Yeah, I agree that. So we work with the African carbon market initiatives and others, and also our platform. Like, we can discuss and ask what we deserve. We don't need to hold on and wait. When you see a problem, you just go and solve it. You don't run away or stand and think. I was continuously saying it previously. If you stop working to think, you're doing nothing. You can think as well, work and learn from the things. So every year, even if we are contributing 4%, we are only receiving 11% of the carbon finance or the climate finance. And Africa needs $250 billion up to $277 billion per year to meet the NDC and to meet the 2030 goals. And also we have Agenda 2026, 2063. So if we are planning to be a global citizen, if we are planning to pace, if we are planning to be want to be strong, use every generation's youths, we have to participate in the market consciously. I'm not saying let's be emotional, no, we have to be conscious. We can ask, nobody's asking yet, right? So why 0 point something? Why $2? That's all right. We don't have to stop saying build a green value chain. Like, I don't need to build a renewable energy to ask why is this the minimum? Africa deserves more. We can ask that now. So I'm saying, let's sell. Let's ask for the minimum price that we need, we deserve. And also let's build the green value chain so that we can create a job while building the green value chain. At the same time, we can create a job by involving in the carbon finance. So we utilize our youth and also build our power. So perfection is a source of, or a sort of procrastination. Why procrastinate? We can do it all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Why procrastinate when we can do it all? Thank you to our both teams for such a powerful debate. It has been really inspiring. It has been evidence-based. And also to our audience, thank you so much for engaging with such critical questions at the heart of Africa's climate future. Today's debate was more than an engagement or an exchange of ideas. It was a demonstration of youth leadership, vision, and strategic thinking that our continent needs as we navigate the complex space of climate finance and carbon markets. For fellows and youth leaders, do not stop here. Whether you argue for sequencing or simultaneous action, the future requires informed, bold, and principled leadership. Continue conducting deep research on climate finance and mechanisms, building and communicating Africa-centered narratives. Keep holding governments and corporations to account and pushing for policies that protect sovereignty while promoting sustainability. For our policymakers and institutions that are on the call today or wherever you're listening from, youth are not just beneficiaries. We are co-creators of climate solutions. Engage us in policy processes, not as tokens, but as partners. Build mechanisms that allowed our expertise, our insights, and lived experiences to inform national strategies and investment decisions. For our audience and all of our wonderful global partners, support Africa's efforts and not through extractive deals, but through partnership that invest in local value chains, renewable systems, and community ownership. The world must not treat Africa as a carbon warehouse. It must recognize it as a climate leader in its own right. For all of us that are on the call today, the carbon economy is not just a market, it is a battleground of equity, justice, and opportunity. The decision we make now will shape whether carbon credits lead to development or deepen dependency. Whether green value chains are built by Africans or brought by others, let's choose wisely. Let's act boldly. Finally, we invite all of you to continue the conversation. Share your thoughts and your insights on social media using hashtag AYCFF and Africa Climate Finance. Follow the African Youth Climate Finance Fellowship and Jacob's Ladder Foundation for future debates, research, and action opportunities. And most importantly, stay engaged, stay critical, and stay committed. Africa's climate future is being written now, and you are one of its authors. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening and afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're free to leave, but keep in touch. We're on LinkedIn. Do not forget, keep tagging us in your post so that we follow your conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Please share the recording if you can.
Okay, we'll let you know. We have your emails. So definitely we'll see if we can do that. Thank you. Thank you all so much.